There was once a time where multipurpose stadiums dominated the NFL and MLB. In 1971, 20 of the 24 NFL teams played in dual-purpose stadiums. But in the year 2020, there will be exactly 0 of these stadiums in use, and nearly none of them are even still standing. They all just disappeared. How did we go from such a dominant trend of sharing resources to eliminating the practice altogether in less than 50 years? Today we're going to find out, why did every dual-use stadium fail? And that's coming up right after this.
Bros, the math doesn't lie. Women absolutely prefer a man who takes care of his junk. It isn't just about the concept of personal grooming. It's about having the right tools to get the job done. That's where Manscaped comes in. If you're using old rusty plug-in clippers, do yourself a favor and throw that shit away. Cause you ain't getting Manscaped, you're getting Manscraped. Let me show you the proper way. Let's look at this fine piece of engineering. Do you see a cord? No. Their long-lasting battery allows you to take these waterproof clippers in the damn shower with you. That's the move right there. No cleanup. Oh, you worried about these blades rusting? Guess what, Nancy boy? They are made out of ceramic and they don't rust. And when they eventually get dull, replacing them is damn easy. You can even get replacement blades shipped to you automatically with Manscaped subscription options, where you can not only get all your blades replaced, but all your products like Crop Cleanser Body Soap, which is my favorite, sent right to your house without you getting up, lazy ass. So after this video, it's time to whack those weeds down and flex on yourself hard. Go to the link below, use my code POINT20 and get 20% off and free shipping. Oh, did I mention the Perfect Package 2.0 comes with all this other kick-ass stuff? Again, use the code POINT20 and we'll throw in the Shed travel bag and ship it to you for free. Come on, it's time to live on the top flight of dick clippers. Manscaped.com.
If you look at the concept of a dual-purpose stadium, it absolutely makes sense from a numbers and economic standpoint. One stadium to build and maintain, one playing surface to manage, one location, one train stop for mass transit, one concessions and facility staff, one sad city, and one sad stadium. You get it. One seems better than two, but when you peel back the onion, dual-purpose stadiums were actually awful. Mitch Hedberg said 2 cannot fit into 1. That's why 2 was invented. And he was absolutely right. Let's break down all of the factors that caused dual-purpose stadiums to suck and what ultimately caused their demise. A football field will never fit neatly onto a baseball field, and vice versa. One is typically shaped like 1/4 of a circle, the other is a long rectangle. No matter what you do, the two will never sit right on each other. It's a square hole and a round peg. This simple problem has been met with a variety of solutions, and all of them have sucked. With a baseball field, more spectators want to be closer to home plate and the baselines where most of the action is happening. In football, the crowd wants to be near the 50-yard line. However, they can be more forgiving if they have an unobstructed view of the field and are relatively close. This creates a huge problem for a dual-use stadium that no configuration could solve. In the circular concrete donuts, sure, the fields could fit into the arenas nicely. However, the fans of both sports were given distant, cold experiences. For baseball, it made the outfield seats practically worthless. For football, mobile stands had to be installed, making the transformation another added step before or after game day. In other layouts, something had to give. Take Oakland Alameda, which is now going to become a baseball-only venue, the last to fall. The baseball field has absurd amounts of foul ground and makes typically great seats miles from the action. The center field seats are worthless, and even for football, mobile stands have to be brought in, and an entire side of the field is far from the action. And you still have that damn infield on the football field, which is disrespectful to both sports. Even so, this shit pile has been standing for 60+ years and is an encompassing example of the geometric failures of a dual-use stadium. Back to that horrific infield, which football players hate as it's like trying to go down a slip and slide made of kitty litter. Even in stadiums that utilized artificial turf, playing surface issues were a constant battle for multi-purpose stadiums. Football has more stops and starts. A reliable surface is needed to plant your foot. Baseball has more bounces and the need for consistency in the infield. Different wear patterns, regardless of the surface being used, drove up the cost of maintenance and the frequency of player injuries. And nobody likes seeing their favorite players out with turf toe or ass rash. As I said before, a dual-purpose stadium makes sense, but like sharing a Netflix account, eventually problems arise. As the football season starts in early September, the baseball season, which has labored on all summer, begins its stretch run, culminating with the World Series in October. This creates scheduling conflicts, logistical nightmares, and playing surface issues, like in 2001 when a preseason game between the Eagles and Ravens was canceled because of an unplayable field. Not only that, but teams have to share clubhouses, equipment, even players. Resources are spread thin, not just from an NFL and MLB standpoint, but for other events who need those facilities like monster truck rallies and Coldplay. These three problems were ignored to save dollars in the beginning, but somehow weren't the downfall of the dual-use stadium. In 1992, Camden Yards was opened. Designed by HOK Sport aka Populous, a pioneering baseball-specific venue wowed spectators and critics. Wait, the Orioles did something right? As a baseball-only stadium, Camden Yards focused in on something a dual-use stadium could never do: a unique and intimate fan experience. Yes, Fenway and Wrigley had this down, but in many ways it was thought that it was their historic charm that brought in the fans. It certainly wasn't the baseball back then. Camden Yards set trends in not only game day fun, but it was the first stadium to manufacture this experience. The Warehouse, Utah Street, Boog Powell's, the Yard set attendance records and revitalized both baseball and the Inner Harbor in Baltimore. What's interesting about Camden Yards is there was no football team to compete with. The Colts had long abandoned the city and a team would be years off from coming. The specific stadium trend was somewhat born out of necessity. Years later, then PSI Net Stadium was built, proving you could have two sports-specific stadiums in the same area and draw the same huge crowds. Fans began loving their venues versus showing up and tolerating them. But love alone isn't enough. One more huge factor killed the dual-use stadium. We listed out why multi-purpose stadiums suck and why separate stadiums are better. If history tells us one thing, the ultimate fate of an obsolete park is not a happy one. Once their usage was done, almost all of these stadiums either met lots of dynamite or a bulldozer. Many of them were replaced or turned into parking lots, and in some cases with not just one, but two new stadiums. Fans needed their toys. Was it because stadium construction methods improved and they could now be built better and cheaper? Well, if you look at what it costs to build a stadium these days, the answer to that is absolutely no. In fact, high-end stadiums cost more than they ever have. Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta clocked in at $1.5 billion to build in 2017 and seats 71,000. Nearby SunTrust Park, built in the same year, cost $672 million and seats 41,000. New Yankee Stadium priced out at $1.6 billion. By comparison, Veterans Stadium cost $63 million to build in 1970, and inflation adjusted, that's only $390 million in 2018. Yes, you could build nearly 4 vets with 4 jails for the cost of one Mercedes-Benz. Cheaper stadiums aren't the reason. Is it public funding? Well, in 30 of the 31 NFL stadiums, it certainly is. Only MetLife Stadium in New Jersey was built without the use of public funds. In the MLB, there are only 5 privately funded, 2 being the long paid for Fenway Park and Wrigley Field. Tax rates and funding programs vary, but with owners like Dean Spanos and Stan Kroenke holding cities hostage because they want the residents of a city, whether they like football or not, to pay for their stadium, it makes you wonder how much public funding is the reason for what killed the multi-purpose venue. But sadly, it's not. The real reason? opulence. Yes, America's wealth is what killed the dual-use stadium. The combination of funds generated from localities and taxpayers, to the pouring in of revenue from both direct ticket sales and media contracts, to the selling of merchandise and fan gouging concessions. It all adds up to America's addiction to bread and circuses, and the sustainable practice of sports-specific stadiums. The effect is so magnified, it's spilled into other sports. Now there are 20+ soccer-specific stadiums. Even their gripes about sharing resources have resulted in smaller, smarter soccer-only stadiums. How long will the trend continue? Public funding certainly has its critics and weaknesses. Look at Marlins Park, for Christ's sake. The answer is, as long as America enjoys its prosperity, you too can enjoy seats behind home plate, or good seats 80 rows up on the 50-yard line. The failures of the dual-use stadium long buried in the parking lot. Enjoy your nachos. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do not forget to check out manscaped.com and use my code POINT20 for 20% off your first order and free shipping. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.